اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا ليعذب الله المنافقين والمنافقات والمشركين والمشركات ويتوب الله على المؤمنين والمؤمنات وكان الله غفورا رحيما.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Allah Azza wa Jalla, we thank him for his countless blessings in our lives. We testify that none deserves our worship except Allah, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam indeed is a true prophet of Allah. May his continuous blessings be upon him, members of his household, and companions in righteousness. I greet you in the best form of greetings, that may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you, by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is welcoming you on our program, a very special one to mark Ramadan 2020. Reaching you from Old Kent Road Mosque and Islamic Cultural Center, Man, UK, in the city of London. My name is Abdul Hassan. Today, inshallah, on the program, we've got something very, very special for you. Special in the sense that we are connecting a lot of things on the program. O Ye Who Believe is a special program that looks at current issues. Also, we present Islamic perspectives on it. Okay. On the program today, inshallah, I have the pleasure of telling you that we have Dr. AbdulHakeem standing by, who will be talking to us on something very, very vital. Likewise, we have standing by Fadlatu Sheikh Imam AbdulHakeem from Camberwell Green Mosque. He is also very passionate when it comes to living our lives, especially for those of us in diaspora, as a family, living a fulfilled life. Lots more. We shall also meet the man sisters. My sister Eniola Kafaya Iletu is standing by. One of the students of Markaz, being run by Man UK, is Sister Amira Dawood, will be the one to recite the Quran for us today, inshallah. If I were you, I'll get in touch with my friends and loved ones. Tell them that it is time to tap into the spiritual wealth of Man UK and be part of this program. We are live on Facebook. You can also reach us on the telephone number 0207 237 0009. That is 0207 237 0009. Please make sure you mute your microphone when you're coming in, and you have the opportunity of asking questions, particularly on the issues being treated today, as well as all issues of general interest, inshallah, we have able and capable hands in the house. Once again, my name is Abdul Olawale Hassan. I welcome you on the program today and get you set for something very, very exciting on the program today. My name is Wale Hassan, and I have today our father, Sheikh Masood Baderi, who will be moderating on the program. Once again, I welcome you and I say ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum. I'll quickly hand over to my sister, Sister Amira Dawood. I want to know if Amira Dawood is around. Amira Dawood, could you kindly raise your hand, indicate just by the side of the gallery? Could you kindly indicate if Amira, just indicate by raising of the hand, and you'll be surely promoted as a panelist. We have an array of speakers all over the world, inshallah, already penciled down. This is the second week of our broadcast, inshallah. Is Amira ready? Inshallah, Amira will be reciting from the glorious Quran. And I say Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا عدوي وعدوكم أولياء أتلقون إليهم بالمودة وقد كفروا بما جاءكم من الحق يخرجون الرسول وإياكم أن تؤمنوا بالله ربكم إن كنتم خرجتم جهادا في سبيلي وابتغاء مرضاتي تسرون إليهم بالمودة وأنا أعلم بما أخفيتم وما أعلنتم ومن يفعل منكم وقد ضل سواء السبيل إن يثقفوكم يكونوا لكم أعداء ويبسطوا إليكم أيديهم وألسنتهم بالسوء وودوا لو تكفرون لن تنفعكم أرحامكم ولا أولادكم يوم القيامة يفصل بينكم والله بما تعملون بصير قد كانت لكم فيهم أسوة حسنة في إبراهيم والذين معه إذ قالوا لقومهم إنا براء منكم ومما تعبدوا من دون الله كفرنا بكم وبدا بيننا وبينكم العداوة والبغضاء أبدا حتى تؤمنوا بالله وحده إلا قول إبراهيم لأبي لأستغفرن لك وما أملك لك من الله من شيء ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك أنبنا وإليك المصير ربنا لا تجعلنا فتنة للذين كفروا واغفر لنا ربنا إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم لقد كانت لكم فيهم أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر ومن يتولى فإن الله هو الغني الحميد عسى الله أن يجعل بينكم وبين الذين عاديتم منهم مودة والله قدير والله غفور رحيم لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتبسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين صدق الله العظيم.
صدق الله العظيم. At-takbir. Alhamdulillah, may Allah Azza wa Jalla bless the recitation of the Quran for the sister who recited as well as all of us who listened. May Allah bless us abundantly. Allahumma ameen. Quickly, I'll move on to our moderator today, Professor of Law, Professor Masood Baderi. Bismillah, sir.
Jazakumullah khair jaza. Thank you so much, brother Abdul, for that opening. I will also want to welcome all our participants in-house and all our listeners and viewers all over the world over Facebook. As was mentioned, this is our second week in the broadcast. And we thank all our participants and all those who have been, contributing. We have been receiving very positive comments. Keep them coming. And we hope we'll continue to improve, down the road, inshallah. I'm pleased to also welcome Dr. AbdulHakeem Baker, who is one of our distinguished speakers today. We are really very lucky to have him. Dr. AbdulHakeem Baker is a revert, it's a Muslim revert, and he was the former chairman of the Brixton Mosque here in the UK. He's an academic and a practitioner who specializes in counter-radicalism, and also issues of youth identity. So he's speaking to us today, in that regard. He is, well-grounded. He holds an MBA in education and also a PhD in political studies from Exeter. He is currently living and working in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. So I hope Dr. AbdulHakeem Baker, you are reaching us from Jeddah, I guess so.
I am here, yes, thank you for a very warm welcome.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. As you see, participants and listeners, viewers all over the world, you see, we are trying to bring you real connection, experts from all over the world, inshallah. And the next speaker is our brother and Imam AbdulHakeem Omotoso, who is the Imam of Jamaat Islamiyya Central Mosque here in Camberwell in London. He is also a versatile teacher of Islam and Arabic language. He specializes in living a functional and fulfilled family life, among Muslims in the diaspora. He's also a very highly respected member of the community across nationalities and faiths in the UK. He will also be speaking to us, as the second speaker today. So without really wasting much time, we'll be contributing as we go. But I think it will be appropriate to start off with our first speaker, Dr. AbdulHakeem Baker. He'll be talking to us about challenges with youth identity, a time for introspection. Youths are very important, and we have had issues with them. So, Dr. Baker, let me hand over to you. Bismillah.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I will share my screen with my presentation so that we can start, and then we will go through that very briefly. Yes, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, Wassalatu Wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Today we're seeing unprecedented challenges with youth and their identity. And I think that living in the UK or wherever we're living now, this is a particular moment that we have to seize upon the opportunity to really engage with our youth while we have more time to do so. In the makeup of our usual days and weeks, we're rushing around from job to job, from different commitment to different commitment. Our children are in school, college, and there's very, very little time due to the pace of life these days in which we can sit and really engage and listen to our children, listen to the youth. They find it easier to correspond and engage with their peers. And you'll find that that is one of the reasons why we see gangs becoming ever stronger, why we're seeing a dissonance, a distance between ourselves and our children. So I think this pandemic, there have been a lot of trials and tests with this, but one thing we're seeing globally at the moment is that there's a coming together of communities, there's a coming together of families, there's more interactivity that's taking place. And so I think now, while we're having this pause, if you like, there's a pause with how things are happening in the world, it's time to actually see how much do we understand our youth and how much do they actually understand themselves. Now, I'm not only going to come from a religious perspective. We have sheikhs here and scholars, mashallah, who are very versed in the Quran and the Hadith and the religious etiquettes regarding how youth develop. I want to bring some of the perspectives of a societal nature that engages and resonates with religion as with our faith as well. I'm a convert, so I've been able to test some of these things within our communities, and this is what I'm going to discuss today. So, for example, Sheikh Uthaymeen referred to 3 categories of youth: the rightly guided youth, the youth possessing incorrect beliefs, and the confused and doubtful youth. Now, ideally, all of us will want to see the rightly guided youth, the individual who's always attentive, in the mosque. He or she is always attending the mosque. He or she is always dutiful to their parents and engaged with religious studies and very good manners. This is the ideal. We have to look and check the environment in which we have such expectations. And I think all of us will agree, even me living here in Saudi Arabia, mashallah, tabarakallah, close to the Haramain, we are not in totally 100% ideal environments. So to expect this completely guided youth, 100% who we do not have to worry about, there are no challenges that we have to be concerned about around him or her. This is an unrealistic expectation as adults, let alone having that unrealistic expectations for that child, for that young man or woman as well, mashallah, and particularly being Muslim youth today. We do have some youth who possess incorrect beliefs. And we can see the actions that result from these incorrect beliefs, which are quite destructive, which are quite counterproductive. And some of us may find it very difficult engaging with this particular category of youth. And some are our children. Then we have the third, the confused and doubtful youth. Now, this is the time, all three categories, but particularly for this category of youth, this is the time to really engage with them. This is the time to hear about their aspirations, to hear about their concerns, without us being judgmental, without us being that typical parent that is enforcing our expectations, religious, academic, socially, culturally, on them, to let them really tell us how they feel. And for one reason in particular, so they can see that they can connect with us, or they can reconnect with us. This is a time where we can share stories of our youth, our grandparents' youth. Many of us come from different societies. If we have come from Nigeria or wherever it is that our country of origin is, to really impart experiences, knowledge to these youth so that they can get more of an idea of who they are, what they are, the duality of their identities. Many of them have one or more identity. That we can have, for example, if we are of African origin, we have our African descent and characteristics from our parents relating to that. And we have our British identity. Then we have our Muslim identity. And we need to show that there is an osmosis, that there is a blending of these identities under the framework of being Muslims, under the framework and the umbrella of Islam. So you'll see on this slide here, at the end of the slide, it's important for us as parents to reflect upon our interaction with the children and try to determine their understanding and perceptions of life, faith, and how these are affecting them. Now we're going to move at a particular framework. I'll spend time here and I want you to spend some time looking at this. I'll explain this. This was a framework I developed in my PhD studies. And I wanted to look at stages that our youth go through. Not only youth, even some of us ourselves who are returning to faith. What are these frameworks? So the founding phase is that awakening, is that realization of who we are, whether we're content or happy with where we are, and that we want to do something about it. I've put conversion there because individuals like me, that's when we realized there's Allah, Islam. I was previously a Christian, but I realized about Allah and the Tawheed, the monotheism. And this made me embrace Islam. Now you've got Muslims, second, third generation, they've always been Muslim, but they haven't focused on faith. They haven't practiced their religion. And they can even start at this phase here now. My mum, my dad traditionally were Muslim. I remember Eid. I remember the Eid al-Adha, they would be slaughtering the animals back home. Eid al-Fitr was after Ramadan. We had families around. So now they're having a cognitive opening. What does this all mean? It all has to fit into a framework, and that framework is Islam, which they now want to start practicing. This is a very formative, vulnerable stage. And as they progress to the next stage, the youthful, overzealous phase, this is now committed young people to their faith. But their learning and understanding of the faith is not contextualized, it's abstract. They're reading books, they're looking at YouTube videos, they're listening the audios, and they're listening to these audios that are talking about yesteryear, the time of the Sahaba, the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's illustrious and it's golden and it's wonderful, as we all know. And they want to practice the religion like those times, but they don't know how to contextualize aspects of that time to practice today. So this youthful formative phase is one where they may even become argumentative with you. We see many of the youth and young people argue with their parents. Your religion, father, mother, grandparent, is traditional, it's old-fashioned, it's wrong, it's cultural. I want to practice this way, according to Quran and Sunnah. And in that sense there, they're not acknowledging that their parents have a wealth of Islamic understanding, religious understanding, because of this youthful phase that they're actually going through at this particular moment here. And we need to be patient with them at this time. We need to be very, very patient and understanding. And even if we do not, we cannot acknowledge what they're going through in actuality, we then need to place ourselves in their shoes. How were we when we were younger? How were we when we started recognizing faith and wanting to practice it and to preach it more overzealously? How were we? Who was there to guide us through this phase? How were our parents with us, and how were we with our parents? And at this point, I want to give another analogy, quite a simple one, that when I met an individual for lunch last year, he gave me a very fantastic conceptualization. Imagine a building with many floors on it. Each floor represents an age. So for example, when I'm speaking to my 11-year-old son, I ask him, what floor are you on? He says, I'm on the 11th floor. I say, what's your older brother on? He's on the 15th floor. Can you, when you look out of the window of the 11th floor, see the same horizon and thing that your brother above you on the 15th floor can see? Inevitably, he says, no, I cannot, Abby. So I then say to him, so you need to respect your brother because he can see more than you can. So when he's guiding and advising you, it's because he can see higher up than you. He can see further than you. At the same time, he must understand and be gentle with you because he was once at the 11th floor and he knows what it looks like there, and he knows what will come on the 12th, 13th, 14th. The same with parents who are on the 40th floor, 45th, 50th, whatever. They're so high up that they can see much more than you at the 11th floor. So that means that equates to their experience and knowledge of what is out there. If we can share and conceptualize these things with our children, with the youth, it will bring about an understanding of their position. The 11th floor, for example, they cannot see everything that we are seeing, and our understanding of them because we were once at their level. So moving across now to the adult phase, the foundational phase. This is more of a phase where we want our children to be, where we want the youth to journey towards, because now they are contextualizing their religion. Now they are practicing it. Now they are seeing the fruits of when they act according to religion, when they act against religion. There's a contextualization. It's no longer abstract, it's actualized. This is a very secure stage. And many of us have gone through this particular phase. Some of the young adults who maybe have just married, have children, are now working, they've finished their studies. They're now moving into this phase now. That overzealousness from the previous youthful phase has been modified. It's been tempered into a contextualization. And this final phase, the reflective phase, is where we know that the individual is not only mature, settled in themselves, and understand and can comprehend their deen, their religion, they can also share that understanding with others. So this was a cognitive framework that I developed in my PhD, and it fits with recognizing our stages of development and making the intention, our niyyah, the vehicle for our ultimate ambitions. And we need to get our children and the youth need to recognize this, not just about their deen, but everything is about intention. So we see this example here, the individual who performs the prayer simply because it's an obligation. He or she fulfills it lazily, not desiring to please Allah, but simply because it's a ritual that we need to do to please our parents. Now, so their niyyah, the intention, is not entirely correct. Again, if we look on the other hand now, one who undertakes secular studies, with the intention to serve or help the Muslim and wider community for the sake of Islam, they will be rewarded accordingly. And we know that, and we know this hadith at the beginning of An-Nawawi's 40 hadith, action is judged but by intention. So the intention is important for the youth to really look at and understand, why am I doing this? Who am I doing it for? The action that is going to follow from it. And even if the action doesn't follow from it, the intention was pure, it was good. And the statement there from Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, one of our salaf, where he says, the most exclusive group of people who get close to Allah are those who change the nature of their permissible deeds into acts of obedience to Allah. So they're doing the ordinary mandub, they're doing the recommended, the mustahab deeds. They are eating, they are drinking, but they're eating and drinking so that they can become fit, healthy for worship. Eating and drinking so they can go out and work in the field of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just the ordinary permissible deeds become obedience to Allah. And this is an objective and an idealism that we need to achieve, inshallah. Before we draw to a close, I want to come back to the framework that I introduced in the beginning, but much more complex now. We're going to conclude on this. You can see that the stages that I spoke about just a few moments ago are on the left-hand side of the screen, going up vertically. Founding, youthful, adult, mature phases. That's the context. And what does this data, information, knowledge, and wisdom mean? These are the stages that we go through. We know that when we are learning, if we just take in the knowledge that we're learning and we do nothing with it, at that point in time it's data. If we still process it, but yet we don't comprehend it or do anything with it, then it's information. It becomes knowledge when we actualize, when we act on that information, when we can practice it and contextualize it in our lives. And then we continue moving that mature phase into a stage of wisdom, where we can perceive and plan and reflect and advise. And that's the religious development that you see along the bottom there. Now, I know it's technical that I'm giving you this. However, when understanding the development and stages and phases of our children, of the youth, and they understand it themselves, because many are at this early stage and they get frustrated. Nothing's working for me. Why are my parents always on me? Society seems to be against me. We need to tell them, you're on the 15th floor, son. You're on the 18th floor, my daughter. Don't worry, as you go up higher, you're going to see a broader horizon and the opportunities for you are going to move forward. But you need to prepare yourself to be able to climb those steps, to be able to go up to those levels. It will not always be where you are now. And also you should not always want to stay where you are at this particular level. And to explain these 4 stages, data, information, knowledge, and wisdom, I will draw to a conclusion so that we can look at these. How do we define them? Data, research, creation, gathering, and discovery, particularly discovery. The next one we're looking at there is information. It's turned into information by organizing it so we can draw conclusions. So it's presenting it, it's visual or auditory. There's no action on this. It's still gathering, collating information. Then we move to the next stage, the adult phase, knowledge. It has the complexity of experience, seeing things from different perspectives. Training and education is difficult. One cannot count on a person's knowledge transferring to another. Knowledge is built from scratch by the learner through experience, through contextualization, through actualization. Information is static, but knowledge is dynamic as it lives within us. And the ultimate stage and the ultimate level of understanding, which some of you sheikhs and sheikhas who are in this group now have reached that stage and will recognize this stage. It's, as with knowledge, wisdom operates within us. We can share our expectations that create the building blocks for wisdom. However, it needs to be communicated with even more understanding of personal context of our audience. So not only do we have the understanding at this stage, but we understand the personal context of our audience, of our youth, of our children. So we can help them through the process, but we need to be able to engage, as I said from the outset. And this is an opportunity to engage. So that introspection, is partly from our perspectives, while doing it with and for our children as well. With that, I will conclude here. You can see that data and information deal with the past. They are based on gathering facts and adding context. Knowledge deals with the present. It becomes part of us and enables us to do, to perform. However, when we gain wisdom, we start dealing with the future as we are now able to vision and design for what will be rather than what was, what is, or was. I will conclude there. Thank you for your time for listening. And I will stop the screen sharing and take some questions and answers, or however you want to take things forward. Thank you.
Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Baker. I mean, you have been really illustrative, particularly with your analogy of floors. This is really, really very, very important. And the top floor is where the wisdom lies. And as you rightly mentioned, you know, I mean, many of our youths today, what actually pushes them into radicalization is perhaps maybe they are still at the bottom floors at the level of data and information. And then really because wisdom is not set in yet, you know, they find it really very difficult and they interpret things in very radical ways. This has been really, really very, very, very useful. And you've actually also, I mean, challenged us as parents that we should not leave our children alone. You know, youth always need guidance. And as we all know, I mean, you know, no matter what, the Quran tells us about the Ashab al-Kahf. You know, in chapter 18, Allah talks about them. You know, Allah says, "Is our fityatu ila al-kahf, فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهب لنا من أمرنا رشدا." These were youth who were looking for Allah, you know, and they knew that, well, they need guidance. So they secluded themselves and asked Allah to guide them, you know, in relation to finding the right path. And Allah answered them, "Innahum fityatun amanu bi rabbihim wa zidnahum huda." You know, they were youths who believed in their Lord and they sought guidance, and Allah gave them guidance. So, I mean, I know a lot of questions will be coming down your way on this very nice, I mean, talk. So, but before we start taking questions, I want to ask, I mean, engineers in the control room, do we have any interlude here now?
In just under 60 seconds, I'm going to tell you why investing in this opportunity will change your life. Are you ready? Start the clock. Over 20 years ago, a group of believers acquired a derelict pub slap bang in the centre of the Old Kent Road. As we've grown, so has our need for space. And we are embarking upon the journey of a lifetime to extend the good work of this masjid. And we need you to join us on this journey. Let me remind you of Allah's promise. Whoever builds a mosque for the sake of Allah, Allah will build for him a house in paradise. And it doesn't stop there. The masjid that we build will continue to give you rewards for as long as it remains standing, perhaps decades after you pass away. Think about all the people who attend the mosque to pray 5 times a day, every single day of the year. The Jummah service that is attended by hundreds of people, the hundreds of youngsters learning how to recite the Quran, and your fellow brothers and sisters breaking their fast in the month of Ramadan, right here in this masjid. Inshallah, you'll get a slice of the reward. All of these and more coming straight to your scale of good deeds. So what are you waiting for? Help us build this masjid. Sponsor a prayer space and get your friends, neighbours and loved ones to sponsor one too. Or even better, get together and sponsor a whole saf. And inshallah, watch how Allah elevates you in this life and the next.
Assalamu alaikum. When we say Islam is a realistic religion, it means it can be practiced everywhere and in every situation. The Old Kent Road Mosque and Islamic Cultural Center, Muslim Association of Nigeria, UK, MAN UK, looks forward to you, your family members, friends and loved ones, joining our live online broadcast of soul-inspiring programs throughout the month of Ramadan. First, in our daily program, O You Who Believe, which comes to you from 6 to 8 p.m. London time every day from Mondays to Thursdays, We will be featuring distinguished scholars from all walks of life, sourced from different parts of the world, and of course, including our own in-house erudite scholars. These respected scholars will be taking us through an array of current issues and Islamic perspectives on different topics.
Do join our online weekly Juma reminders from 2 to 4 p.m. UK time every Friday. It is of great benefit to everyone. Our Tafsir al-Quran is a step-by-step guided journey throughout the verses of the Holy Quran. We'll also be live online from 6 to 8 p.m. UK time, Saturdays and Sundays.
It is always a spiritually fulfilling session, and you get to see our mosque as the hub of activities for the larger community.
This is a chance to be part of the Old Kent Road Mosque and Islamic Cultural Center, Man UK Rebuild Project. May Allah bless you abundantly as you join us.
Ameen.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you very much for that. Beautiful interlude. Now, we are still expecting our second speaker. Normally, we used to take the, talks one after the other. But since we are still expecting our second speaker, let me ask whether we can go on to the next segment first, which is, our mosque. And as we said earlier, we have different organs within the mosque that do different good charitable work to benefit community. And today we'll be hosting our sisters group, the Man Sisters. So the representative of the Man Sisters, if she's in the house, we welcome her to take the stage. Sister Kafayat.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I just wanted to be sure that you could hear me. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. My name is Kafaya Iletu. I am the immediate past secretary of the Man Sisters Forum. Man Sisters, we are middle-aged mothers, a very significant part of the Muslim Association of Nigeria, UK. We have young children and some of them youth as well. And I particularly like the fact that today the immediate past lecture was about the youth, because they are a group that are very passionate to our hearts. They are children. In Man, we do have the youths and we have the elders, and we fall in the middle. That's because we are in our 30s, our 40s, and a few of us are in our 50s, very early creeping into that age. So we feel like a niche in the sense that we're not old, we're not too young. We have causes that are very passionate to our hearts, and some of them I'll list and explain as we go along. We are very particular about our own Islamic development and spiritual well-being. So we meet monthly on third Sundays of the month at 3 p.m. for about an hour for 2 maximum. Therein, we learn about the Quran and our Hadith and how to be good Muslim women, wives, mothers to our children, and role models to our community. We also deal with our mental well-being because we know that our well-being affects the way we are going to run our homes, help our children, and support the community at large. We are very passionate about supporting Islamic education in the mosque, Markaz particularly. So we support Markaz financially, in person, attend their programs, contribute towards making sure that our children have the best, by supporting the teachers programs. We also contribute a lot to the mosque maintenance. We do this in different ways. We donated some years back air conditioners to the mosques to help, particularly during Ramadan and Juma, because our mosque is getting too small and sometimes it gets too hot. And as Muslim women, because we're covered, we're particularly vulnerable when the space is small. So that was one of the said this to the mosque. Something else that we do is help in the cleaning of the mosque. The mosque in itself has its employees, but as Muslim sisters, we think that we can contribute, and we have a rota in helping to clean the mosque in itself and its environment, especially because we have elderlies amongst us who may not be able to do. Something else that we do is we do our best to raise money to help in the reconstruction of the mosque. And this particularly led to our first ever African Tea Party, April last year. It would have been a good time to do another, but Allah plans and we plan, and the way of Allah comes to pass. I think about this time last year was when we were marrying, celebrating and raising a sufficient amount through our African Tea Party. And it was geared towards raising funds to help rebuild the mosque project, because that is passionate to the entire man, but to sisters particularly. We join all other groups when they invite us and attend their programs, but we particularly associate with the Federation of Muslim Women Association, Form 1 UK, as an umbrella body, attend their programs, invite them to us, and through Form 1, sometimes we get invites for other Muslim sisters groups within Muslim associations in the UK. This has helped us to reach out to the wider community and helped us to network with each other and help Islam develop as a whole. It has also helped us to build ourselves within ourselves and to work harder to make the Man Sisters group an important one. We celebrate each other. We support each other. We know that life is not a bed of roses. We go through our trials together, supporting each other. So when our sisters are well, we're well with them as a group. And when we're down, we support each other so that we can come up together. So for us, the Muslim Man Sisters group is a family within the bigger family of Man UK. And this has really helped. As mothers, we're really very busy people. So we take time to go out, to celebrate Eid or functions, and sit down out of our homes, away from our children once in a while for our mental well-being, to discuss issues that are pertinent to us and to see how we can support the association and Islam as a whole. I must say that I am very proud of the Muslim Sisters group because we are very formidable in the community.
Jazakumullah khair. We are also very proud of you.
Thank you so much. Just to end it, I'll leave you with a parting shot, Quran 33, verse 35, because this is something that propels us as a group. We know that the Muslim woman is very important in the community, but we particularly love this verse because in it, Allah clearly states that in al-Muslimina wa al-Muslimat, up to the end of the ayah, where Allah says that the Muslim men and the Muslim women, the believing men and the believing women, the truthful men, all the way down to the fasting men and the fasting women. Allah categorically lists this category, saying that it's for men and it's for women. For us, is a huge reward and great benefits, forgiveness and a good word. I implore us all to go and read it. And I want to use this opportunity to thank my sisters for what we've been doing and to encourage and so say that, yes, as Man Sisters, we pledge our support to the association today and always. May Allah make it easy for us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you so much for every good thing that you do for our sisters at the Old Kent Road Mosque and Islamic Cultural Center. I have a message from the president regarding the good things that we do at the Old Kent Road Mosque and Islamic Cultural Center. The president has indicated, you know, in the past we mentioned that during this lockdown, the Old Kent Road Mosque is taking further efforts to distribute food to our elderly who are at home, who are not able to go out. But you know, sometimes when you do these things, perfection is only with Allah. The president indicates that they have information that some of our elderly are not happy that they have not been visited yet, and they feel that they have been left behind. It's not like that at all. The group is making a lot of effort, and sometimes, you know, there are gaps in the database of addresses. So inshallah, I mean, there are no preferences at all. I mean, everybody has a right to receive this assistance. And the president says that they are doing everything to ensure that the assistance gets to everyone. And as we requested, people who wants to donate to that cause, you know, should do that so that, I mean, this projects of distributing food can continue. Jazakumullahu khair. Dr. Baker is still in the house. Inshallah, I see that some questions are being put in the question and answer and also the chat. We'll come to that in a minute. But from today, you see, and we're also expecting, I mean, Dr. Omotoso, who will be joining us for the second talk from 7 o'clock, inshallah. And we are expecting one of our brothers from the MCB, Muslim Council of Britain, the Deputy Secretary, that is Hassan Judy. He will also be joining us to also say a few words about the relationship of the Old Kent Road Mosque with the Muslim Council of Britain.
Could we possibly go to MCB, sir?
No, that's okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. I just have some slides to share as well. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you can, please. Go on.
Okay, bismillah. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, please.
Yes, we can see it.
Fantastic. First of all, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the All Merciful, the Ever Merciful. Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. It's very humbling to be to have listened, first of all, to the very interesting and inspiring speeches and presentations so far. And I'm very humbled to accept your invitation to join. Just to speak, I've been asked to speak just for 5 minutes about the MCB, the Muslim Council of Britain. Before I do that, I just wanted to say that it's every time I see a presentation or some news or some announcements of the new building, inshallah, the new center for Old Kent Road Mosque, it's very, very inspiring and very exciting, actually. And I think the project that Man UK has created is a model project, a model example for masjids not only in London but across the world. And I wish you the very best, and I'll certainly be donating and supporting to the project this evening, inshallah, and I encourage and urge as many people as possible to do so as well. As Professor kindly introduced, I'm Hassan Judy. I'm part of the team at the Muslim Council of Britain, and Muslim Association of Nigeria UK is also part of the team for the Muslim Council of Britain, because you are one of the oldest and the biggest and the most important members of the MCB. The MCB is a membership-based organization for over 500 masjids, charities, schools, and professional associations across the UK from all the different schools of thought that we have, the diverse schools of thought in Islam, from all the different ethnic backgrounds, and also geographically as well. So of course you're in London, but MCB members are from Birmingham, from Manchester, from Scotland, Wales, and we also have Belfast Islamic Centre in Northern Ireland as well. And our role is really to be, as you can see on your screens there, a voice for the community. How do we do that? I'll just come on to that very shortly in a second. But since its establishment in 1997, it's all been about how can we empower our communities internally to become stronger, so uniting our efforts. That's the internal message, the internal efforts of MCB through its members such as Man UK, but also externally, how can we make sure that those outside of the Muslim community in wider society, whether it's the media, whether it's the government, whether it's the other faith communities in the interfaith space, how do we make sure that they are aware of the views of our communities through the membership base, the diverse membership base that MCB has, and it's something that we are constantly working on and constantly evolving. And of course, no 1 day no 2 days are the same, no 2 years are the same, and perhaps more so now in 2020 when we have this coronavirus pandemic. It's extremely challenging, but we are all coming together to respond to it. The next slide just gives you a bit of an example of what's happened in the last 6 to 7 weeks since this crisis has really come to a fore. What you can see here is the CRG, so the community response groups that the MCB has helped to facilitate by bringing together experts in the medical space for the medical COVID response group. The economic impact in terms of some of the economic support packages that the government has been doing. And so we've been trying to produce guidance to help our Muslim communities to be more aware of that and how they can access that. Of course, with the burials and the increased number of burials in our community, that's been a very big concern. And we've brought together the experts there to harmonize and to produce guidance. Mental health as well, extremely important, especially more so the next couple of days and weeks as we go more into lockdown. The charities and the response groups, a publicity group to bring it all together, and scholars very importantly as well. One thing to emphasize is that at the same time as us doing this for the UK Muslim communities, we have also been approached and we've been giving advice to some of the Muslim communities in some of the other nations. In particular, you see some of the countries there in Australia, in Canada, the Muslim communities in India who have a lot of challenges there, especially with Islamophobia at the moment in India, in South Africa and Norway and others as well. And they actually have been taking some of what we've been doing in the UK and adapting it and implementing it for their countries as well. Coming back to within the UK, as well as in this particular COVID response to this crisis that we currently have, which we are adjusting to and adapting ourselves to, even beyond that, part of our role as the MCB is to constantly be in touch with and communicating with the wide variety of members of Muslim organizations, both within MCB's membership and beyond as well. And on this slide, you can just see a couple of examples of the kinds of organizations that we are engaging with pretty much on a weekly basis, if not especially now during the coronavirus pandemic on a daily basis. Muslim Association Nigeria, of course, yourselves, but also so many others across the country. And there's many more, and there's not enough space to put them all on one slide. And that's part of our responsibility and our weekly and daily activities as well. Some of you I know will be aware of some of the projects that are run. Of course, the Visit My Mosque Day, that happens every year. We are still looking at alternatives for how to do that. It was planned for June this year, and we're looking at alternatives about potentially making that a digital event. The annual conference, Our Mosque, Our Future conference, that I know some of you have attended, that we've run in London, in Manchester, in Leicester, and we have plans for running one again this year in 2020, pending the restrictions being lifted on the coronavirus. And I know some of you have benefited from some of the workshops that Sister Amanda has run for Man UK, for FOMWA, and for others to via the Centre for Media Monitoring, which is a research project where we're monitoring every single news article, every single TV and radio broadcast in the UK, which has the word Muslim and Islam in it. We monitor it, we log it, we compile it as part of a research database, and then from that we are compiling an analysis of how Islam and Muslims are being reported on in the press, so that we can make recommendations and we can engage constructively with the editors and with the journalists who are responsible for producing these pieces. We complain to them and we go to them when they get it wrong, when they're incorrect, and we get them corrected. But we're also proactively engaging with them on a constructive level to help them to get it right, and to have a more accurate and fairer reporting about Muslims and our faith Islam in the British press.
Jazakumullah khair, Hassan, if you can summarize the remaining slides, please.
Fantastic. Just the final
against time. Okay.
The final thing to say, and just to give one of our final roles, is about amplifying the voice of Muslim communities. So we write regularly in the national newspapers, from the Times, the Telegraph, to Newsweek, to the Guardian, and we're getting the voice of our members, yourselves, Man UK, and others through into that. And via that, hopefully, we can create a better understanding of Islam and Muslims in the press. And the final thing to add is anyone is welcome to get in touch with us at any point in time. Sister Rashidat from Man UK is part of the office bearers, myself, Brother Haroon, who some of you have met, and others. We have elections every 2 years, and we're going to be having elections later on this year as well, inshallah. And to get in touch, then there are some ways to get involved there. If you're not already a member, then your organization can become a member. As an individual, you can become a friend, or you can get in touch at that email address, mosques@mcb.org.uk, or via social media as well. Just the final thing to say is, at the end of the day, unity is the most important, one of the most important things that our Prophet, peace be upon him, encouraged us to do and urged us to do. And at the end of the day, MCB is purely a vehicle, it's purely a mechanism that we can help to bring the British Muslim communities together more united, and to be able to respond to the challenges that we face, such as the coronavirus right now, but the other challenges that we will face in the years to come as well, inshallah. Jazakallah, thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to.
I mean, Brother Hassan, that's really very good. We urge you, if you can, to stay around. We believe that, I mean, when we get to question time, you'll have some few questions to answer. Now we'll move on quickly to our second main speaker, Imam AbdulHakeem, who will be speaking on the topic, where are the Muslims amidst confusions? Imam AbdulHakeem, yes, I can see him on the screen now. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
All praises due to Almighty Allah, the Lord of the universe, who upon the pandemic that we are presently experiencing, it is not to our pleasure. He has also blessed us to be here together, talking to one another, and holding this kind of forum. We pray, we thank him again and again for granting us that opportunity, and we pray he accepts the gratitude from each and every one of us. Amen. We pray for more and more of his favors, more and more of his mercy, and we pray that Almighty Allah will increase us in the knowledge of the deen, so that we do more and better before we come and meet him. Today, I have been given the topic, where are the Muslims amidst global confusion? And that is the topic I am to briefly discuss. As a matter of fact, the emergence of COVID-19 has undoubtedly thrown the entire world into an overwhelming and serious confusion. So much so that the entire world is not combating any battle and solving any problem in the current time, but the problem generated by the virus. This virus has been ravaging and destroying great nations of the world with no remedy at sight up till now. We pray Almighty Allah will come to our aid. Shortly before the emergence of the virus, a number of complaints were there on ground, complaints militating against the progress of mankind. These complaints range from prevalence of vices of all kinds, corruptions of all types, chaos, anarchy, upheaval here and there in so many parts of the world. Law and order seriously eroding away from our community. People of the world today almost return back to the state of barbarism of the old time. Immoral practices, indecent behavior becoming widespread. Some people today, you wouldn't be surprised. You'll be hearing them expressing that life is no longer a place to enjoy again. All of this summed together will prompt somebody to ask, where are the Muslims amidst global confusion? Alhamdulillah again, that Allah has made us Muslims. He has made us to be submissive servants to his will. Each and every time we see ourselves Muslims, we are full of gratitude unto him. Upon this, we ask him to let our feet be firm on this path of rectitude. Of course, we expect people to ask that question, where are the Muslims? Why? We expect them to ask us because of the status we maintain in front of Allah, the creator of the heaven and the earth. Status of eminence, the position of excellence, which Allah himself refers to in several parts of the Quran. And when somebody maintains such a position, and there's this kind of turbulent time going on, people will have to go to such people and ask them, what are you people doing to the problems on ground? So where are the Muslims amidst global confusion? Almighty Allah specifically mentioned that the position we are maintaining in front of him is not a position of, it's not just an ordinary position. This can be seen in chapter 3 of the Quran, verse 110, where Almighty Allah says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. Here Almighty Allah is telling us that because of these three things in you, Muslims, you are given preference over others. You are given that position of eminence, that status of excellence over other nations. Kuntum khayra ummatin, you are the best of nations. You are the best of nations ever evolved for mankind. Why? Ta'muruna bil ma'ruf. Because you command people to do good. You are enjoying the doing of goodness on fellow mankind. It is part of what Allah has put on you as a responsibility. Number two, وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Muslims, you forbid evil. Wherever you see evil being perpetrated, you see it as a task on you to forbid evil. Number 3, tu'minuna billah. You fervently believe in your Lord. And you know one thing with somebody who believes strongly in his Lord, in his Creator, one of the implications is that he knows very well in his mind that after this world, there is going to come another world. And this temporary one, where we find ourselves, can last anyhow, anytime. There's no guarantee for anybody to say, I have come to this place, I am going to live long there. And that is why when you believe strongly in Allah, you always have it at the back of your mind that you can go and report to him at any time. So what is going to matter to you, most of the time you will be seeing yourself different from all other fellow human beings. Number 1, because you are ever preparing to meet your Lord. How do you prepare to meet your Lord? By doing everything he commands you to do. By doing everything in total on the surface of the earth. Part of which is to make good impact before you take your exit. It's not expected of Muslims to close their minds, to close their eyes whenever they live in a community and evils are being perpetrated in that community. I'm not going to go into details regarding what really caused COVID-19. So many times we have read so many write-ups, we have heard so many people talking about the cause. So there's no gainsaying again to say that human beings caused this turbulent time for themselves. Of course, this can be substantiated from the Holy Quran as well. The Almighty Allah will be telling us that ma asabakum min suhin famimma kasabat aydikum. Whatever affliction that is happening to you, you must know that it is the consequence of what you have done with your hand. In another part of the Quran, Allah will tell us that liyudhiqahum ba'da ma amilu. The disaster that is now prevalent on the surface of the earth, on the land, on the sea, caused by men themselves. It is man that caused it. And Allah is definitely going to make you taste the result of what you did. I want to quickly say that what we are presently experiencing worldwide is just a consequence of what man previously did. Allah is never going to wrong his servant. But the case, each and every time we talk of man caused this problem, we will now be asking Muslims, with the position you are maintaining in front of man, in front of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, what are you to do? So therefore, this question is definitely asking to know what are the responsibilities of the Muslims, particularly whenever they find themselves in this kind of terrible time. Allah says in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ هُمَّةٌ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. That is to be seen in chapter 3, verse 1 and 4. Allah says, let there be a group of people among you Muslims, those who will be inviting people to do good. They will be enjoining doing of goodness upon people. They will be driving them away from committing evil, from doing bad. And Allah says at the end of that verse, those are the prosperous ones, if at all they exist in the midst of Muslims. When you go into the Old Quran, chapter 9, you will see a corroborative verse, a verse corroborating the first two verses that I've just given. And that is to be seen in chapter 9, verse 122, where Allah says, وَمَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لِيَنْفِرُوا كَافَّةً فَلَوْلَا نَفَرَ مِنْ كُلِّ فِرْقَةٍ مِّنْهُمْ طَائِفَةٌ ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون. Allah says, it is not right for the believers to go out and fight war all together. It is not right for you, whenever there is need for you to go to war front, don't go all together. From each community, there should be a group that will go out to amass knowledge of the deen. Let them go and acquire understanding of the religion so that they can teach their people when they return back to them, and so that they can guard themselves against evil. Where I'm going there is that, number one, Almighty Allah is telling us our duty again and again, that our survival on the surface of the earth is not to be conceived to mean the same thing that non-Muslims will peruse it to mean. We are here not only for ourselves. Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Khairukum man yanfa'u nas." The best of you Muslims are those who are living life of usefulness to other fellow human beings. And if that is the case with us, at this point in time, in the midst of what we find ourselves today in the world, the question should be occurring and reoccurring to our hearing, Muslims all together. What are we doing to checkmate evils? If first of all we know that this kind of thing will never befall man, the entire world this time around, this kind of thing will never befall us, except that we must have caused it. And if that is the case, then we want to know the spiritual solution to the problems at hand. This time around, we will not try and prefer spiritual solution alone, but go a step further to prefer mundane solutions. We all know that Islam, our religion, is not a religion that will tell you talk of spirituality alone. Of course, what Allah has created in this world is for us. So even the mundane thing is also part of the spirituality, if only we understand very well. So I want to say, briefly speaking, that the problems in the world today can easily be categorized. As far as I did it, I categorized it into 4. I put it under 4 headings, that we are having challenges here and there. Number one of the challenges, I call it social challenges, which are not there for Muslims to just keep on looking at. But we must sit down and think of what do we do so that these challenges become a thing of the past. Social challenges is one of the challenges that we are having. Economic challenges is one of the challenges we are having in the world today. Political challenges, one other challenge that is facing the entire mankind today. And the last one, I put it to be religious challenges. All of these challenges, they demand some effort to be made before they turn back to become the opposite. And that is for us to make good use of them, for us to make good benefit of these challenges. I was talking of really social challenges the other time, and now I want to say, under this social field that is putting itself in the position of challenge in front of man, how do we fight it? How do we fight this social challenge? Until we find solutions to them, we shouldn't be by ourselves, Muslims. We should not be thinking that somebody else, another group of people on the surface of the earth, are in better position to do that on our behalf. So number one solution, as I am putting it here, is that we should fight against obscenity and vulgarity. All that Allah discourages, Allah condemns in his book. Muslims, we must rise up to wage war against them in the best way we can. Number two, we have to make efforts to improve the status as well as the rights of the women generally. Number 3, we Muslims, we must try our possible best to protect the endangered structure of the family. Almost every now and then we hear of problem in one family or the other, husband and wife, children and parents. Muslims, we should not be sleeping. We have to look for solution that will be very useful to combat this problem. Number 4, we must strive to the best of our capability for social equality and justice. We have to entrench equality and justice within the domain of mankind. We must make sure we work towards that. Number 5, it is expected of Muslims during these times of ours that we do our possible best to eradicate evils of drugs and narcotics. This is seriously ravaging life of human beings, and we shouldn't just sit down and be looking. Number 6, it is another responsibility on our neck that we should contribute to the fight against diseases. We should do our best to contribute to the fight against diseases. And number 7, under social challenge, I see it that we must enforce moral values of Islam. It is high time Muslims, even in the Western world, that we came out proving what we believe in front of non-Muslims. It's like people of the world today, they have tested a lot of systems. They have tried different methodologies on how to live within themselves, human beings. And most of these systems they thought of over the years, they have been recording for mankind a lot of failures. Muslims, it is high time, let us discuss with the world and come out with the Quran and the solutions Allah has provided for mankind. Let's look at economic challenge. What are the solutions that should be provided? Number 1, let us try our possible best to eradicate economic disparities existing in the midst of mankind today. Number 2, let's do our best to eliminate poverty through the system of zakat, which Allah has given to mankind and to the Muslim particularly from the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So as long as we leave all these to be existing in papers and we are not putting them into practice, a lot of people are there telling us that they don't know that is what Islam says. And these are solutions that will work for the entire mankind. And number 3, which is the last under economic challenge. Muslims, it is high time we work towards introducing interest-free financial system so that majority of people will not be complaining of bankruptcy again. It's not going to surprise us that some people that will go and commit suicide today, it is out of this bankruptcy of a thing. They will tell you, I'm going to kill myself, when at the same time Muslims have solutions with them. Political field, challenges facing us there. I want to quickly say one of the solutions is which we should prefer, we should prefer for the entire world. Let us fight for the provision of basic human rights to all human beings. Number 2, let us play an effective role in the resolution of interstate conflicts, international conflicts. Severally in the Holy Quran, Allah will praise people who mediate in between two warring parties. So that, again, we should look into it so that there will be peace, harmony existing in the midst of mankind today. Number 3 of the solution on the political field is that we should make frantic and strong efforts to eradicate the menace of terrorism. Call Jack a bad dog and people will deal with it. Almost that name is what we are bearing today in the face of the entire world. Muslims, let us look inside. There are quite a number of people who call themselves scholars, extremists, terrorists. They are giving us bad name. I think it is high time we think of that and we'll look for solution to it. Number 4, which is the last one on the political field. I want to say, let us work sincerely well for the introduction of consultation-based political system across the globe. Something that is definitely going to replace what we have right now, that people will call democracy. Democracy is not successfully bringing out the best of us to be our leaders. And this is a thing of pragmatic evidence, which everybody can testify to worldwide. And on the religious field and religious challenge, I prefer 3 solutions there. Number 1, making people aware of the importance of the religion. It is high time we raise our voices, let people know. I quoted 3 verses the other time, 2 from chapter 3 and 1 from chapter 9, Surah Tawbah. All of these are focusing our mind, Muslims of today, that we have not been doing enough of propagating the religion. Let's make noise about it. And when we are propagating the religion, disseminating the messages of Al-Quran, let's do it exactly what Allah says. Let's not dilute it with our own personal ulterior motives. Number 2, under that, we should work to spread the true message of Islam across the globe. And number 3, which is the last under that, I want to advise Muslims of today that we should try our possible best to create and promote interreligious harmony. Of course, it is Allah who has created us in heterogeneous way. That it says in the Quran, "Law aradna, law shihna la ja'alnakum ummatan wahida." If we had wished, we would have made all of you to be of the same religion, practicing the same religion. But at the same time, Allah has willed that we are all going to live together heterogeneously. So therefore, Muslims, let us try and work towards making somebody else, another person belonging to another religion in our community. Let's make him our friend, and let's thereby let peace and harmony overreign and prevail within us. We pray Almighty Allah will assist all of us.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh AbdulHakeem. I had a slight problem with my microphone there. We really appreciate you. You see, you really touched on very important things. A lot of the time, the problem is about what we call tatbiq, application of the injunctions of Islam. So you have challenged every one of us in various ways. You rightly mentioned Allah describes us as the best community. Kuntum khayra ummatan ukhrijat linnas. You are the best community for mankind. So we need to put that in practice. May Allah reward you. We'll now go quickly to questions, inshallah. And I believe a lot of questions will be coming. So I know, Dr. Baker is still there. Imam Omotoso, Dr. Omotoso is also still there. Depending on the questions, I will be directing them to you as they come. And I will also be backing up if the questions relate to a general issues, inshallah. So control room, questions, please.
Yeah, there was the hand of Alaji Alabi up previously. If you have a question, please go ahead before we take the one from the charts.
Assalamu alaikum. Is one of our mother, Mama MBL has a question. Mama, you are free, ma.
Will the last speaker please repeat all the ayahs he was quoting when he was speaking, please? The 3 ayahs.
Okay. Dr. Omotoso.
Okay. The first one, chapter 3, verse 104. The second one, chapter 3, verse 110.
104. What ayah?
Chapter 3, 104, Mama.
3.
Yes. Continue, sir.
The second one, chapter 3, verse 110.
3.
Yes.
And the third one, chapter 9, verse 122.
122. 122.
Yeah, that's all right.
Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Omotoso. Thank you so much. Any further questions, please?
Yeah, this question I think must maybe it's meant for Dr. Baker, but we can try to. He said, Assalamu alaikum. What advice would you give to a parent struggling to find a common ground with a youth in matters of the deen? What ways can a parent or imam best counter those speakers that espouse false beliefs and are among those that our youth listen to?
Well, inshallah, I mean, that's a question for Dr. Baker. We hope he will be coming back. Let's leave it aside. If Dr. Baker doesn't, I mean, is not able to join us, inshallah, we'll address it towards the end, inshallah.
Okay. Sorry, just 1 minute. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. 1 minute. Yeah, there's this question here from, it said, during 4 rakat salat, if one is on third, recite surah after Fatiha, how can this be amended, please?
Alhamdulillah, we have an imam in the house. Dr. Omotoso, Dr. AbdulHakeem, did you get the question?
I didn't get
Somebody
it.
paid 4 rakats. You know, in the third rakah, he's expected to recite only surah to Fatiha, but they added another surah also in the third rakah.
Okay.
What is the consequences? Did they need to do anything?
For adding a surah,
yes,
after the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha on the third rakah, which is not expected of him or her, after the completion of the prayer, is expected to do ba'di. You do ba'di when you add to your prayer, and he has added to his prayer by reciting after Fatiha. There where he read after Fatiha is not expected to read anything after it. So therefore, after the completion of the prayer, he has to go and observe 2 prostrations. In the course of the prostrations, while he is putting his forehead on the ground, he's expected to say, rather than Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, the usual one, he will be saying Subhana alladhi la yanamu wa la yansa. He observed the 2 prostrations, one after another, exactly the way we are used to. And after that, he recites at-tashahud and utter salama.
So that's it. I mean, if you do that, you have to do 2 prostrations after you do the taslim. Thank you so much. Any further questions?
Yeah, it says, Salam alaikum. Is it permissible for few people to join together and use their zakat to set?
I can't hear very well.
Hello, please, if you can mute your mic. So the question is it permissible for few people to join together and use their zakat to send somebody to Hajj?
Okay. I mean, using zakat to send a person to Hajj. I mean, there are differences of opinion on it. Now, if you look at, I mean, the Quran chapter 9, talks about who are entitled to zakat. It talks about people who are entitled to zakat. And the last category of the 8 categories of people entitled to zakat it talks about fi sabilillah, spending the zakat in the path of Allah. Now, there are differences of opinion amongst the scholars whether sending somebody for the Hajj is part of fi sabilillah. Majority view, if you look in Al-Mughni, that is the Hanbali jurisprudential book, Ibn Qudama establishes strongly that actually sending somebody to Hajj is part of fi sabilillah. So Ibn Qudama argues that yes, you can use zakat, but it must be fard, it must be an obligatory Hajj. If it is somebody who has done Hajj before and the Hajj is not obligatory upon them, you cannot use zakat money to send them. They say you cannot use it for Umrah, for example. If it is fard, going for Hajj is part of it. So Ibn Qudama says that. And there's a Maliki view also that supports that. But you might find views that says that no, you can't spend zakat money to send a person to Hajj. But the majority view, they agrees to that. But the only restriction is it must be Hajj fard, a person upon whom the Hajj is obligatory. Wallahu alam.
Okay, so can we have the question from Alaja Bayaki? Please unmute yourself and go on.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
What my question is still relating to Qabli and Badi. If you're doing a 4 rakat prayer, maybe Asri or Zuhr, inshallah, and maybe you've overdone it in the first or second rakat. Now, do you do the correction at the end of the 4th rakat, or can you do it at the end of the 2nd rakat?
Dr. AbdulHakeem, is that question clear?
It's not clear at the point when he was saying that he overdid it. We don't know what he overdid.
Yes. Yeah, I'll repeat it. What I'm saying is that if you're doing a prayer, maybe a 4 rakat prayer like Zuhr or Asri, and then you make a mistake, maybe in the first or second rakat, whether it's Qabli or Badi, it doesn't matter. Now, do you do the correction at the end of that second rakat where you do your attire, or do you do the correction at the end of the 4 rakats?
Anyway, I think we need to hear what type of mistake, what exact type of mistake he committed. It's not every mistake we atone, we correct with Qabli and Badi. So there will be need for you to tell us what exact mistake he committed in the course of the prayer, the first 2 rakats.
For example, maybe you are doing the first 2 rakats and you forgot to say the additional surah for the first 2 for one of the first 2 rakats. Or alternatively, maybe you've not done enough. For example, maybe you are supposed. You can do it for either Qabli or Badi. Maybe you've done it over. Maybe you've said too many surahs, or you've not said enough surahs, but you're not sure. Now, can you correct it? Do you correct it after the second rakat of a 4 rakat session, or do you correct it at the end of the 4 rakats?
Honestly, there is still need for us to know what he has underdone, what he has overdone. Why I am saying this?
Dr. AbdulHakeem, let's take the point he made. Now, for example, a person didn't say a surah in the first rakah. He forgot to say a surah in the first rakah, and then he got up. He remembered that, oh, that first rakah that I did only Fatiha. I didn't add a surah. Now the question is, at what point does it correct it? Does it wait until the end of the salah, or maybe he then correct it in the middle of the salah, one way or the other?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes.
For failure to recite after Fatiha, a surah after Fatiha, either in the first rakah or in the second rakah, that means you are going to go for Qabli. Qabli is for somebody who is reducing from his prayer. But when we are talking of reduction that doesn't have to do with obligatory aspects of your prayer. When you reduce anything obligatory in the course of your prayer, Qabli never atones for it. Badi doesn't atone for it. So obligatory aspects of your prayer have to be adequate. Now, the example you have given us is failure to recite surah after Fatiha. That one is not obligatory. It's sunnah. So you are going to go for Qabli. How do you go for Qabli? Before you complete your prayer. You know, we normally complete prayer by uttering Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, to your left, to your right and left side. That is the point of completion of any prayer. So before you get to that point of completion, you have to go for 2 prostrations. That prostration at that point in time is named Sujudu Qabli. Qabli means you are atoning, you are making correction before you complete your prayer, before the point of completion. That is Qabli. Ba'di means you are making atonement for an error you committed in your prayer after you have completed your prayer. I don't know whether you understand.
I think it's very clear, Doctor. I mean, one thing I might just add to that is this: is a lot of the time people are confused. They don't know when to do Qabli or they don't know when to do Ba'di, and you explained it quite rightly. You know, if you reduce a non-obligatory part of the prayer, if you reduce something, then it means you have to correct it before you complete the prayer.
Yes.
You know, if you reduce something, then you have to complete it before you complete the prayer in order for it to be full. Now, if you add something, complete the prayer and then take it away.
Yes.
Do you get the point? If you add something, complete the prayer and then take it away. You do the sajda after the. So the most important thing actually is for you to be able to know which aspect of the prayers are obligatory parts, which aspects of the prayer are sunnah parts, which aspect of the prayer are mustahab, so that you know when you need to do qabli and ba'di. That is, I mean, for example, if you miss a whole rak'ah, you can't do that with qabli and ba'di. You have to bring the rak'ah. You have to, because I mean, it's an obligatory part. You know, for example, you are praying 4 rak'ahs and you pray 3, and you sat down, you thought, oh, I finished. Qabli cannot make it up. You have to get up and add that 1 rak'ah to make it 4. You know, then before you do the ba'di, because you have had an extra sitting. So it's quite, I mean, straightforward, and I believe we have been able to address that. Any further questions?
Salam alaikum. I think maybe Dr. Haqq will not be able to join back because he said he could take questions on email. So we might take some of his questions. But before then, there's this question that says, can I use nasal spray while fasting?
Dr. Sheikh AbdulHakeem, nasal spray while fasting.
I think there's a divergent opinion. Somebody was telling me a few days ago that he read it somewhere, you can use it. But as far as I am concerned, I think anything you want to use to your nose or to your ears, there is possibility of it penetrating down, going to the esophagus, from there going to your stomach. Anything that will resort into that is going to nullify and is going to nullify your and invalidate your sawm, your fasting. You don't allow anything to penetrate, neither from all those holes, neither from the ears nor from the nose. If you are sure it's never going to go down, then you are permitted. But if it penetrates, that has invalidated and that has nullified your sawm, your fasting.
Jazakumullahu khair. Further questions?
Alaja Falake Alayaki, please ask your question before we take any. Maybe we'll be able to take any questions.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My question goes to Imam Omotoso. Thank you for the lecture. And here you made mention of the challenges that we need to work on. And I think if Brother Hassan Jude is still there, is the Muslim Council for us in Britain, and those are the voice for the community. I think they are the one in the position to help us out in everything that you mentioned. So when it comes to the social challenges, or political or religious, they are in the position to do that for us. Thank you. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakumullah khair.
Hassan, did you get that?
I got the first bit of the question, but I'm afraid I missed the second part. Do you mind just repeating it, please?
Yes, I mean, she was just saying that, I mean, the points, the active points mentioned by the second speaker, Dr. Omotoso, he says MCB is in the best position, whether it is, I mean, in relation to economic aspect, political, or even religious aspect, whereby we have to put things in practice and contribute to community. She says that she believes that MCB is in the best position to be able to spearhead that. So the challenge is thrown at you. Let's hear what one say.
Well, there's many challenges internally, of course, to our communities, but looking externally, of course, with regards to whether it's politics, whether it's economics, whether it's the social challenges that our society faces. Our religion has something to say about everything. And our responsibility as Muslims, as followers of our faith, if we truly believe that this faith is here for humanity, for everyone, then it's down to us to make sure that we are implementing it and communicating that to others. I'm reminded of something which a friend of mine shared with me when I first got involved in MCB a few years ago, when he said, he told me Muslims in this country are about 5% of the population. You know, there's 60 million people in Britain, approximately 5% are Muslim. The question that we should be asking ourselves is, what is this 5% of the population who are Muslim doing for the rest of the 95% of society who aren't Muslim? If we are contributing beyond that, that's good. If we're only contributing to ourselves, so that only the 5% internally, then perhaps we're doing something wrong. And MCB has a part to play, and welcome your suggestions and your ideas for how we can do that. And together, inshallah, we can make that happen.
Jazakumullah khairan, Brother Hassan, for that. I mean, the point is this. You see, we are all in this together. Dr. AbdulHakeem has raised very important points. We are all in this together. When the Quran says that we are the best community, it talks about community. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. A community is made up of individuals. You know, a community is made up of individuals. So, I mean, we all have a role to play. We just have to look at the problems. I mean, many of the problems, if we put our houses in order individually, particularly in relation to when Dr. Hakeem was talking about interfaith relationship and neighbors and things like that. If every Muslim in the UK, for example, starts to be a good ambassador of Islam, showing goodness to neighbors as Islam propagates, you find out that the whole community will benefit from it. You know, so we just have to dissect the, problems and see. Some of them can only be solved collectively, where organizations like MCB, CNMO, and even Old Country Mosque can do collectively. But many of them, we can individually look inwards into ourselves and play our role. And may Allah make it easy for every one of us, both individually and collectively, inshallah. Okay, so we will take one more question because we have 6 minutes to round up, inshallah.
So I'll just take this question. It says, what do we do with kids who choose to have a different sex orientation?
Dr. AbdulHakeem.
What do we do with kids having different?
Who choose to have a different sex orientation?
Sex orientation, different sex orientation.
Let me leave it to my father.
No, I mean, make a contribution. You see, I mean, maybe because of time, you know, when we hear these type of things, particularly, and I think views are changing on it. I mean, we hear that a lot of time, because when there are things in community, when people begin to hear a lot of things in community, sometimes, I mean, they want to key into it. You know, when a Muslim child, or even any child at all, comes immediately to talk about, for example, I mean, different sex orientation, you don't just take it on face value. You know, you have to talk to them, make sure that they understand what they are saying, and then, I mean, counsel them. I mean, look, they have been on TV. They have been on TV. Many children whose parents, because they just said they felt they have different sexual orientation, their sex orientation was changed. Now, after they grew up a bit, they started regretting it. They didn't know what they were doing. I mean, we hear it over the news. So as parents, one point is don't shut them down. It's a discussion, have it with them, because Muslims usually have that approach. You know, when children raise uncommon questions, we have the tendency of just shutting them up. If you shut them up, you know, you are just packing it in. They don't have an answer, and it can really boomerang. You have to have a discussion with them. When they raise those questions, don't be annoyed. If you don't know the answer, get in touch. The Quran says, "Fasalu ala zikrin kuntum la ta'lamun." Get in touch, and we can have some counseling sessions with the child, have a discussion about it, and then perhaps, I mean, be able to guide them. As I mean, Dr. Baker said, sometimes there are youths who need guidance in relation to these issues. So one point is don't shut them down. If you are able to have a discussion, if you don't have you are not able to have a discussion with them, get in touch, ask the scholars, and we'll be able to deal with them. Dr. Tasha, do you want to add anything on that?
I think it's okay like that. I don't want to put anything to that.
Yes. Hassan Judy. MCB might have had, issues with such questions. Have you had it in the past, and how did you deal with it? We can't hear you. Sorry, unmute.
Thank you. I think it's really important to emphasize that the society that we live in has a wide range of values. And many people who live around us, the friends that our children may have in school or elsewhere, may feel that having a different sexual orientation is acceptable. And of course, in our faith, in Islam, it's being homosexual isn't something which is encouraged. But I think you've hit the nail on the head when you said that it's about having that conversation.
Yes.
What we recommend is the home needs to be a safe space where our children can come to us to have that discussion, and that we can help them to explore those questions in a safe space. What we don't want to do is to, as you said, reject them. And then what will happen is that they will just go and they'll get their information from somewhere else, from friends in the playground, from YouTube, from TV, from elsewhere. Whereas ideally, we want them to be able to come to us first as parents to ask those questions and to explore those questions together, inshallah.
Jazakumullahu khairan. It has really been a very, very, interesting and beneficial day. Do not forget my appeal. Inshallah, I will hand over now to Abdul Hassan to sign us off, inshallah.
Thank you very much for all your contributions, and I urge you to please donate. Nothing is too small, nothing is too big. May Allah Azza wa Jalla reward all of us abundantly. And for those who have one question or the other, please keep it locked. Inshallah, tomorrow we shall have enough time for all your questions. May Allah be pleased with us and bless all of us. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope you've learned a lot on the program today. By God's grace, tomorrow is another date. Make sure you don't miss it, inshallah.